Hello, Tiger fans. Thanks for joining us for a new week of Tiger Timeout here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. The voice of Tiger and Lady Tiger basketball, Matt Payton, with you as we take a look around Campbellsville University's basketball programs. We start with the Lady Tigers, the #1 ranked team in the preseason poll. Ginger High Colvin joins me. And, Coach, we didn't get a chance to mention that last week. We had recorded prior to the poll being released. Now that it's come out, #1, I know that's kind of a target on the back, but it's also a huge sign of respect for your program.
It is. It's a sign of respect for all the kids that have played here and just the tradition of our program. And there's a lot of good teams out there. If we're #1, I don't know. And you would love to finish there, but starting there, it's a lot of people don't like that because it does put a target on your back. But I think for your program, you always want to be one. You want to. I know when Miranda and I started, I said I want to be one. I want to be the best. And just the fact that it's a preseason coaches poll, but it is nice to be there and think that you're even in the mix. You went to, or you're going to McKenzie this coming week. We'll talk about that later. You went to McKenzie kind of last week, or at least that area, and got a commitment the same day. It was a big day for you last Wednesday. #1 in the nation. You also got a big recruit, a young lady that you've had on campus a time or two, and down in that western Tennessee region, kind of in Bethel's backyard, Freed, Hardeman, and some teams. But you rarely do that, so it tells me when you go and you snag one from that area, you really like them. Haley Allen, you get her. And I think she's going to be a really nice player for you. Team camp helps a lot in recruiting, crazy enough. And sometimes you get coaches that, and that's basically how we got Hallie. She come in and a team that was our team camp that watches our team, McCracken County's coach who does an outstanding job. He said, I saw a kid that fits you guys. So we went and watched her play AAU, and I knew immediately she did. She's such a hard-nosed kid, reminds me a lot of Elizabeth Bertram, a little bit bigger than Bert, and got to know her and just watch her play, and I think she's a fit for us, and I think she's a great get for us. Yeah, Hallie Allen, we'll get that right. That's on the voices. That's on me. But let's talk about the roster. #1 in the country, and that happens because you've got so many pieces returning, and by so many I mean all of them. Let's talk about the 6 seniors, graduates, 5th years, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call them. Some of them may be 6 or 7 years. I think Courtney Pritchett may have been here when we were still Campbellsville College. I'm not sure. We'd have to go back and look. That's been a minute. But let's talk about those young ladies. Bailey Pettigo, Maddie Boyle. They, from that guard spot, exactly what you need out of those two. Courtney and Caitlin down inside, and then you've got a couple of young ladies that will come off the bench and capable of doing more than that should the time come, in Kayla Luby and Sarah Sutton. So you've really got a dynamic group of upperclassmen, or at least seniors, whatever you want to call them. We're so excited, and I'm so glad all those kids chose to take that year. And I think they're just hungry to get a step further than what we've been able to get, and they've been successful already. They're good on the floor. They're good off the floor. They represent our program in a great way. Bailey Pettigo has turned into one of those kids that you can't live without, and she's just so smart all the way around, offensively, defensively, and when she's on the floor, I'm at ease because I know Bailey's going to make great decisions and play hard every single possession. Maddie Boyle, I think, is playing her best basketball right now. She's a shooter, in the terms that she's a great three-point shooter, but she's even a better mid-range shooter, which is a lost art right now. Maddie and Bailey are both doing their student teaching, so they're not in the mix as much as we'd like for them to be, but we'll be glad when that student teaching is over. Courtney went through that last year. Courtney Pritchett, we talk about Courtney, and Courtney is she's exactly what we want at Campbellsville University, and she makes everybody around her better. And she shoots the ball extremely well. I don't know but what, she's not the best shooter on her team. Shoots the ball extremely well. She's a great defender and just a great kid to have on your team. And you mentioned Courtney, you have to mention Caitlin. Caitlin was Player of the Year in our league last year, and she's continuing just to look extremely, extremely well. And she's just that kid that's going to go out and work hard. She's strong, she's quick. And Courtney and Caitlin are a great 1-2 punch at that 4-5 spot. And Kayla comes off the bench for us, and I'm not sure how many teams she would come off the bench for, but she's playing behind All-American Caitlin Wilkes, and Kayla brings she's just that kid. She plays so extremely hard, and we love having her. Sarah, as we know, can shoot the fire out of it. she's gimped up right now in a boot. We're hoping to get her back in the next few weeks, but those seniors are just so important to what we do, and I love them all. Great kids, and they represent us well.
And then, we'll touch on some of that junior class here in a moment. But before we go and close out this first segment, I know everybody watching clamoring to know how the alumni weekend went, how the alumni game went. Did this young lady right here that I'm pointing at put on a show? She's done that a few times over the years.
If there were a spotlight, if we had just a spotlight, she would have been the one that the light would have had to go on the entire time. She lights the room up when she comes in, and she's probably not in as great a shape as she's been in, so she tied her shoe a lot more. She took some fake charges. She did shoot some air balls, but we went up against an all-star team that weekend with Caitlin and Kristen Hall, Sammy Rogers, Madison Kaiser, Madison Stewart, who am I leaving out? Savannah Gregory. That whole crew came in, and man, did they took it to us, and we had a great time.
Yeah, Madison Faulkner grew up the school of hard knocks of Cornelius Faulkner, so she knows every trick of the trade. And it still feels like Stu, we joked about this for a long time, should still be that freshman. I don't know. It's a long time ago, but really loved her coming out of Grayson County, and it's fun to get all them back.
Yeah.
I know
Ashley McGeorge was back. She chose not to play, but it was just good seeing all those kids back. And Shyla Calvert was back. She chose not to play. She came in a little late, and I know I'm leaving somebody out, and that I hate that, but it's just great seeing their faces and seeing them being so happy and doing so well.
A few years from now, we'll be sitting here talking about this group of Lady Tigers playing in the alumni game. That'll be fun to talk about down the line. We'll step away, take a timeout, come back, and we'll touch base about this weekend's upcoming contest. Bluefield and Fisk await the Lady Tigers in McKenzie, Tennessee. Stay with us here on Tiger Timeout.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
It took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Tiger Timeout continues here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you as we continue to take a look at Lady Tiger basketball. They go on the road this weekend. We'll say week, Coach. Thursday, Friday afternoon, Hayes in the Barn before the weekend officially starts. So we'll call it a couple of weekday games. You get the first game against Bluefield in the Chamber Classic down at Bethel University. And this has been, over the last several years, it's kind of been a staple of your schedule. It's been something that you can go down there, get a couple of good games, and it's a Bluefield team, used to be members of the Mid-South Conference, a Fisk team that you've played several times over the years, so you're familiar with these two programs to some degree.
We are. They've had some shakeup in their coaching. We haven't played them in a while, and I do know they've had some really good pieces added, and Bluefield, we don't know anything about. Fisk, we will at least be able to watch play Bethel when we go down, but Miranda Denny's been going down a lot of different options to find some of these kids on their rosters and to look them up. So we've got the best scout we could possibly have. We've even watched postseason or preseason interviews just to figure a little bit out. And so we know what we know. We're going to go in. We hope our defense just kind of leads the way this weekend, and offense maybe we can work on as time goes on.
Yeah, and Bluefield, lot of changes to their roster.
Right.
They've got a few of their, so-so scores, that 8 to 10, 12-point a game range back. But in terms of a lot of the shots from last season's team, it's gone. I know that really challenges you as a coach. Where do they get that offense? Who are the ones we've got to look at?
You do. And now we're just trying to go with tendencies as a coach, what he does and what his tendencies are. And then we'll plug the players in as the game goes along. But unknown, it always worries you a little bit, but there's an unknown with them, with us, so hopefully we'll be able to go down and play well.
You get Fisk, it's a 6 Eastern time start, or I'm sorry, Bluefield, it's a 6 Eastern time start on Thursday evening. I'll be there for the call of that one down in McKenzie at Crisp Arena. And then on Friday, Fisk is a 1 Eastern time start, I believe, there. So you can follow that game through Bethel's Athletics. Dave McCulley and his group do a good job, so you can follow there for Friday. It's a busy weekend around campus. I know you're talking about getting back. You may have to put the girls to work, shot clock, game clock for the Tiger basketball game. So it's really, you try to help each other out when you can. This is going to be a big weekend for them.
It is. And I've been around long enough to know these busy weekends are important. It's important to have that many athletic events going on, and it's a good thing. Campus is a buzz. I know it's hard on administration. I know it's hard on sports information, everyone that's trying to get all these games covered, but we've got a lot of great events going on this weekend, and just like you're trying to get back as quickly as you can, and a lot of great things going on athletically at Campbellsville.
Yeah, I did the math. I was going to try to call the Lady Tiger game that afternoon, race back to get on headset for the Tigers game. Not enough time to get there legally from McKenzie to Campbellsville, so we'll have to pass on the Friday game. But you've got soccer Friday night, hosting Mid-South Conference stuff. You've got a big football game on Saturday with Bethel. It's going to be a fun weekend around Campbellsville. Let's quickly look, Coach, before I let you go this week, at that junior group that you have, led by Lauren Lee, Elizabeth Bertram, Maddie Nally. I don't know, hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody in that group.
That's a great group. That come in, and those 3 kids are. Lauren Lee might be the best player on the floor right now for us. She's playing exceptional. She's just gotten better every single year. Her shot's better, her defense is better, and she's so solid, so steady, and she looked great in our inter-squad scrimmage, and I just expect her to come out because she's just a gamer for us. She's so solid. Maddie Nally and Elizabeth Bertram and Lauren all stayed here this summer and worked out together, and I feel like Maddie Nally's playing her best basketball. She finished last year, if you'll remember, I felt like during the national tournament, and was one of the best players on the floor for us, and she's just continuing that. She's got a little bit more confidence. We still want to see her shoot it some more, but defensively, she's doing a great job for us. And Elizabeth Bertram, Bird, I think your favorite is have gun, will shoot, and she does an outstanding job at that. She is a scorer for us, and she is absolutely playing her best defense. That was probably a weakness when she came in, and now I think even though she's so good offensively, I think defensively that is her strength right now.
Coach, good luck this weekend. It's always fun to get a new season started.
We're ready to roll.
The Lady Tigers in action in McKenzie, Tennessee. I'll have the call on Thursday evening, 5:45 on 88.7 The Tiger. Find us on the TuneIn app there as the Lady Tigers take on Bluefield at 6 Eastern time Friday afternoon against Fisk. We'll step away, take a timeout, come back and visit with the head coach of Tiger basketball, Brent Vernon, here on Tiger Timeout.
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that I would never be able to get over it and that my kids wouldn't have a father. I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. For the longest time, fear held me back from ultimately being who I wanted to. I had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
The family's visit to the forest inspired a beautiful question. Mother, mother, am I a tree? You tell me to stand tall. You tell me to stay rooted. I think I am a tree. My child, of course you are. But what kind of tree will you be? The kind to hug, or the kind to climb. Doesn't matter what you choose, so long as you choose to be a tree that's kind.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Tiger Timeout continues here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you once again as we turn our attention over to Tiger basketball. They opened the season this past weekend at Lindsey Wilson College in the Bigger Sports Center. Campbellsville splits the weekend, falling to St. Francis on Friday evening, getting a win over Carolina University on Saturday. The head coach, Brent Vernon, joins me. And Coach, the first thing we start with is it's just good to be playing basketball again. I know your guys, from a standpoint of practicing against one another week in, week out, day in, day out, you want to see new competition. You talked about it post-game. You didn't get a scrimmage, so it's good to see a different uniform, some unfamiliar faces. Even though I know Friday you didn't get the win, it was a hard-fought game, and I know there were a lot of positives to take away from that.
Yeah, there was. And again, we were just so tired of beating up on each other every day in practice. We had been around 22 or 23 days straight of not facing any outside competition. So playing somebody else was very a good change for us, and playing someone like St. Francis was really good for us. And came up a little short, but we fought hard, we played hard, did a lot of things really well. Still had a lot of those early season mistakes, but for a first game of the year, it felt a whole lot more like a mid-January conference game than it did the first game of the season. And so those are the type of games we have to have. So when we get to January, we're ready to go in the Mid-South. Yeah,
I know you want a soft landing maybe for your first one out of the gate. Conference play in years past has started really early, so sometimes you want to be tested. You would have loved to have had one, maybe I'll say easier as I use some air quotes there, but St. Francis team out of the Crossroads you knew was going to be really good. So you got your oil checked right out of the gate with some stiff competition.
We did, and like I said, it was great to where now we know a little bit more of some pinpoint areas of what we have to work on. And again, it was a back and forth. It was a game of runs. They had a lead early. We really settled in and cut back into it. They again led at the half, I believe, and it was really like one possession or so. Second half, we had a lead with 5-6 minutes to go, and again, not having that scrimmage, I think in that last 5 or 6 minutes, we never panicked, but it just was uncomfortable for us and having to figure that part out.
Yeah, and speaking of uncomfortable, we'll get to this now. Keyston Brown gets dinged in that game. It was a hard foul with him and Luke Almodovar and heavy contact. And at the moment, I thought St. Francis guy was going to take the worst of that. But as you started to watch, Keyston was really nursing that wrist and hand, and unfortunately you got some pretty bad news about that over the last few days.
Yeah, when they first hit, I think the reaction went a lot more towards the St. Francis young man, but he sort of hit an area, back, which isn't good, but, can take probably a little bit more of a pounding than the wrist. I won't say Keyston led an awkward on the wrist. He does have a fracture. We're looking at 6 to 8 weeks right now, and now a lot of the ball's in his court, so to speak, about how he wants to proceed. He's in his 5th year, 4th year playing, COVID, all of that stuff, and so there is a redshirt year out there if he would choose to do that. It's really on him. For me, my job is to do what's best for our guys, and I want what's best for them, and they're the only ones that truly know that. So he's got a lot of time to think about it. We're praying that there won't be any surgery required, but we'll find that out probably the next couple days and everything. But, the ball's in his court to decide what's best for his future. If he decides to play, we'll welcome him back in January with open arms.
And to be clear, because I think this is something as a coach, I want anybody that may watch this to say, how does Brent Vernon do it? If he's a guy I want to play for, or I send my grandson to play for. This is Keyston Brown's decision as to how he finishes his college career. Yeah. You'll guide him, you'll offer input.
Yep.
Ultimately, if he says, I'm back and I'll play the 12, 15 games, or I'm gonna wait it out and try again next year, you're good with those decisions. It's up to him.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already sat down and talked, and obviously, a young man who's been in our starting lineup now going on the 3rd year. Do we need him this year? Absolutely. But he's also a senior. He's a young man who loves the game of basketball and has put a lot of time in, and he's got to decide is January to March, 12, 16, 18 games, what I truly want my senior year to be. And sometimes when you've played this long, your body is telling you this is what it needs to be. and then other guys want to get every last ounce they can out of it. So this is something he has to decide, and as you said, me and him will meet many times. I'll never push the button either way. He's got to make the decision what's best for him.
The Tigers fall to St. Francis there on Friday evening, 81-77. The final score, turning their attention to Carolina University, who was in a track meet with Lindsey Wilson on Friday evening. It was a Carolina team that I think you were just a little nervous about, just how they like to get up and down and how they do things. Fortunately, your guys came out, they came out a little slow. Yeah. They battled back strongly, come out with a 100-74 win over the Bruins there. Kobe Penny and Javon Smith led the way, 21 points each. Tyrell Hunt with a nice performance off the bench, 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists for Tyrell Hunt. And I thought this weekend, Coach, I wasn't there on Saturday, but you could see a lot of the stuff that you brought in this weekend. It wasn't necessarily dominated by any one person. Maybe Kobe Penny had 2 really nice scoring games, so you focus on that. But I thought it was a little bit of everything from everywhere. Noah Gordon sparked you on Friday. Javon Smith hit big shots. You saw what Cam Vick was capable of. Like, you got to see a lot of this roster show itself off.
Yeah, we did. And, the biggest thing going into Saturday was our game with St. Francis was so physical. So we were more physically tired from our bodies being beat up, where, Carolina might have been more tired just because of how fast they played against Lindsey. They subbed about every minute and a half to 2 minutes, 4 and 5 at a time. So their guys never played as many minutes as some of ours did. Obviously, with Keyston going down 5 minutes into the game Friday, we had guys playing more minutes than we maybe anticipated going into Friday. So we were definitely a little concerned with fatigue, but I thought everybody really stepped up well, and everybody on the bench played, and it was something like you said. There were flashes from everybody. Tyrell did a nice job Friday and Saturday, but Saturday especially. Noah had a really good groove going on Friday. Got in a little bit of foul trouble, it slowed him down. Cam Vick, a great game Friday and Saturday. And again, I think that's something you're going to see from him a lot. And then Kobe, he's one that we talked about last week, the potential's through the roof. He was one of those guys that had to play a few more minutes because he's not maybe quite in that type of shape yet. But again, I thought you saw a lot of production from him, and it was really nice to see.
The Tigers get a few days off, back in action at home this weekend as they welcome in Midway in Indiana University Southeast in a classic event. I believe Cumberland's the fourth team in the event, so we'll step away, come back. We'll talk about that here on Tiger Timeout.
Quit smoking and thought, that's that. But here's the thing about lung cancer. By the time you see the symptoms, it could be too late. But now, there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early, when it's more curable. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Our closeout segment here on this week's edition of Tiger Timeout on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton and the head coach Brent Vernon here as we take a look at the week ahead for the Tigers as they'll welcome in Midway and Indiana University Southeast. The Tigers, a couple back-to-back games that Friday, Saturday are going to be a big part of the schedule here in the early going, Coach. And I know that is one thing you worry about, the legs and the roster.
Absolutely.
You got bad news with Keyston Brown. Hopefully some good news for Tiger fans. It's been a long wait, patiently for some, not so patiently for others. Darius Harding looks to be like he could make an appearance this weekend. I'll cross my fingers. Anything else?
I think that's the best we can do. We're close. Started some 5-on-5 week and a half ago. has looked well, has recovered well. You play 2 or 3 days. That third or fourth day, you may take a step back a little bit because the soreness really, really ramps up. But, had a very nice day yesterday. Today will be our last day of live prior to Friday. So be a good day to see how he goes today and hopefully have a good recovery. But if we have a good recovery and no setbacks, I think we will see 5 in action for a little bit this weekend.
And let's be clear, as he's been working his way back, it's Darius has been very patient, and he wants to make sure that this is right. He knows this is his last go around. So these conversations that kind of are taking place with Keyston and things that he's gonna have to consider are the ones that Darius has already considered and figuring out his body. So he's been patient in the approach, but you've liked what you've seen out of him in those spurts in practice.
I have. The difference is, and I'd have to go back. I don't think there's any more sit-outs for Darius, and I sit there and look at it, and he's his time. He knows it's running to where it's, he's trying to get every ounce of it, and he has been. He's been very patient, but more importantly, very mature. A lot of guys would just be like, "Oh, I'm cleared. Let's jump out into it." He was cleared. He said, "Coach, well, I need a week or two. It's been a while," and I agreed with him, and I was glad that he actually brought that to the forefront instead of me having to sort of pull the reins back a little bit. But from the day one of being cleared for live action 5-on-5, he has jumped in head first and been incredibly impressed, not trying to get too much done too quickly right now in practice. Maybe a little different when the game comes on the line and we have to, just take a deep breath and relax. But it'll be a very, I think for Darius, emotional. For me, it definitely will be. It's been a long time coming for him, and he is starting to finally feel a little bit more like himself, which is something we're all very happy about.
You guys will take to the floor Friday evening, 7 o'clock start time. That game can be caught through Campbellsville Tigers, Claw United Plus there on YouTube. Benji Kelly and I will be courtside for the call of that one. Midway had a game earlier this year, big performance there. Keem Scott took over the program kind of late there, so figuring out that roster and exactly what they have is going to be interesting in the Classic this week, Coach. But you get Midway right out of the gate. The good news is with them having played a game, at least you do have something to look at.
Yeah, we have a little bit. I'm going to say one game, again, they had a big win. They play incredibly fast. A couple guys returning, 3 or 4 that played some decent minutes, a lot of new guys. But we've seen some of the new guys at other places here and there. So personnel-wise, I think we'll have a decent idea of what we need to work on. It's the actual game action, because the first game they played was so fast and upbeat, and they scored so easily. They didn't really have to get into a flow or a rhythm of anything on the half-court set, which is what we'll try to make them do. But we have to be better than we were this weekend in transition defense. That was one of the things we were not real good at, and it's something we've worked on, so it's a little concerning there. But we've been back to work on that this week, and we'll continue that as we prepare for Friday. But if we can handle those things, we should be okay.
Opposite end of the spectrum, Keem Scott gets in late. Wiley Brown's been at Indiana University Southeast for a number of years, leading the Grenadier program, and you'll get to kind of sit back, and I won't say sit back, but you'll get to see them a little bit against Cumberland's, and then take those guys on there on Saturday. That's a 4 o'clock start time. That game will only be on the video. You can't catch. There's no radio coverage. That will belong to Tiger football there on Saturday, but the Grenadiers, always a quality team.
Yeah, very well coached, and again, it's a little more blind now. They've had one game as well that I know of. Not sure if they play this week before us or not, but it's one of those. Coach Brown does a great job. Over the last 2 years, they have lost some incredibly talented players. And I know he's always going to reload and have incredibly talented players. So it's going to be the same old song, but just different guys out there singing it. So we're going to have to really be prepared. Friday will be good for us to be able to see what they do, and then Saturday tip it up, recover well from Friday, and we need to really work on protecting home court and trying to get 2 this weekend.
Good luck this weekend, buddy.
Thanks, man.
The Tigers back at home in the Powell Athletic Center this weekend. The Campbellsville Classic. Join them Friday evening, 7 o'clock start time against Midway, 4 o'clock the start time on Saturday against Indiana University Southeast. For Ginger High Colvin and Brent Vernon, I'm Matt Payton. We'll see you next time on Tiger Timeout.